Thank you for being here. This is fun. So to introduce you to everyone, anyone who's been under a rock and doesn't know you, just with a wee thumbnail of why Janet Rudolph is Bouchercon's fan guest of honour this year. If a writer like Val McDermott or Ian Rankin, although other nationalities are available, but if a writer like Val or Ian is on tour in the US and is coming down the West Coast, they'll do Seattle, Portland, Janet Rudolph's living room, and Los Angeles. And so this interview is my chance. I'm so nosy. This is my chance to find out how did this happen? How did you get to here? And this, by the way, how did this happen? This is, and I'm going to have to look at my notes halfway through trying to list this, is that you publish the Mystery Readers Journal. You are the host of a very long established book group. You are the host of renowned literary salons in American. You publish a daily blog that's nothing to do with mysteries at all. I told you I was going to have to look at my notes. You administer and award the McCavity Awards, and you have a home and garden that makes Martha Stewart look like a squatter. So I think we're going to cover all of this. I really hope so. And not just me. Some of the questions are from me, and some of the questions are from your many, many friends all around this mystery world of ours. Susan Shea was one person who wants to know, in what order did all this happen? All this came up a lot, Janet. So I want to start by going right back to the early days and asking, what was baby Janet like? What were you like as a child?
Oh, good question. As a child, I was a happy child. I had a good childhood. I had a wonderful childhood. I had a very supportive family. All of my aunts, my mom was one of 11 children. There were 5 girls and a boy, and they all lived within a block and a half of our home when I was very young, before 10. And my grandmother lived with us. My grandparents lived with us. So we were the hub. So there were always all of these people. And everybody was a great reader. You know, I was a TV person, but they were great readers. And, you know, I had a great life. You know, there were tragedies involved as well, as we all have. And I think that adds to someone's character. But on the whole, a happy childhood.
That's lovely. That's so good to hear. And I'm already piecing it together. You were surrounded by lots of people. You were surrounded by lots of people. So what got you into mysteries in particular?
Well, 2 things. One is, I remember one summer when I was probably 8 or 9, I discovered my mom's Nancy Drews. I mean, I do remember this. And I spent a part of the summer reading all of them on the sun porch when we were at home and we weren't down the shore or something. And that was great. And then my dad was a major Ellery Queen mystery magazine reader. I mean, he read mysteries, but I was a kid. So the magazines were easier because they were short stories, and they were always there in his closet. I don't know why my mom probably put them in the closet. She was not a mystery reader. As a child, you know, Nancy Drew, but not as an adult, and she was a great reader. So, yeah, I think probably my parents got me involved in mysteries without knowing they did.
That is a wholesome childhood. Your mum put magazines belonging to your dad in a closet, and they were Ellery Queen mystery magazines. That's delightful. So Keith Raffle wants to know,
oh God,
what was the topic of your PhD? I feel that he might know the answer to this, but he wanted you to share the answer to this.
Yes, I think he probably could go online and find that out. So my PhD took many, many years to complete, with 2 or 3 changes in the way I was going. And I ended up writing about religious mystery fiction. I focused on Harry Kemmelman. I was very lucky that at that time, there weren't as many religious mystery writers. And I wrote about how mystery you could learn about religion, you could learn about values and morality and other things from reading mysteries. So kind of, you know, Kemmelman, but I brought in, of course, other people like Tony Hillerman, and who, you know, one of my gods. So yeah, it was kind of like that. I don't know. I started out with Jewish women in literature, so really went a different direction.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, it took me, forever. Well,
yeah. Yeah, it took 5 years. It took me. I don't know if you want to put a number on it. No, don't put a number on it. You're a guest of honor. You
Yeah,
don't have
mine's
to.
more than 5.
Okay, okay. Let's call it 6. I mean, I was thinking that when you were talking about Nancy Drew, because I read my first ever Nancy Drew recently and thought, okay, that's nice. Let's not be unkind. But I think maybe you have to read them when you're in the demographic for them. Maybe.
Yes,
But
exactly.
yeah. So, what brought you to Berkeley? From a scholarly, were you already in Berkeley when you did your PhD? What brought you to
I
Berkeley? I
know,
can't imagine you
Berkeley
anywhere
brought me
else.
no, PhD, Berkeley. That brought me here.
Oh, okay,
I came here for graduate school.
right.
And really, at the time that I came, it was the time to come to Berkeley.
Yeah,
I was finishing my work. I had studied I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. What a surprise. If people know me, I've done a lot of things. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started, senior year trying to decide, because things were different. Everything changed at that time. You needed to have a career. Well, I didn't really. I just felt I'll just go to school forever, which is pretty much what I did. I love to learn. But I ended up applying. I had spent part of junior year in Florence, so I loved art history. So I thought I might go into art history. But I liked religion and I liked English, and I couldn't really focus. No big surprise there. And I ended up applying to all kinds of places. Most of the good schools on the East Coast, because that's what you do. And I had gone to Penn as an undergrad. So I got in everywhere. So this was a real challenge. Yeah, it was nice, right?
yeah,
but a challenge, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, let alone, because these were in different disciplines. But also, I wasn't sure I wanted to stay. And one of my professors said, oh, you can do religion and art history in Berkeley. Berkeley.
yeah.
And he said, okay, I'll write a letter of recommendation. This is after I had applied. And he did, and I got in. And so it was Berkeley. And as my mother has said, as most people who know me know this, once I got to Berkeley, I was married to Berkeley. And my mother said, you will
Oh,
never come home. You are married to Berkeley. And I am. I'm still here.
yeah.
I, love it.
That was going to be my next question. Can you ever imagine living anywhere else? Because to me, you are Berkeley. You're the first Berkeley person I ever met. You're the first uh, house in Berkeley I was ever inside. And you just are the spirit of Berkeley to me. You and
That's
Sal's house
sweet.
together.
Oh, nice.
And Valerie. Everyone. Yeah.
Well, everyone's invited to come. No, I can't imagine living anywhere else. I do, I have one other place that I spend time, which is in Bodega Bay. And because of the birds,
Yeah.
and truly, there's stupid birds on my roof all the time there. But it is another part of the world. And I'm so glad in this time of COVID that I have another place that's safe and that I
Yeah.
can retreat to. And I know that I'm very privileged to have that. Because I can't travel, and that would be my second choice. Well, it'd be my first choice, but having
Yeah.
that place. And one thing about having that is also I can go and relax and read, and there are no distractions there. There is nothing
Oh,
there.
oh, it's
But everybody's
beautiful, isn't
invited.
it?
You're
Yeah,
invited.
Bodega Bay. It's beautiful. Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
gorgeous. Yeah. So, so speaking of distractions,
Hmm.
Io Onatadi, our friend, your friend of mine, wants to know
Another.
2 things, and I quote, how do you do it? No, seriously, how do you do it? And also, how do you relax? So to take the first one first, how do you do all of this?
Um, Now things are different because of COVID,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah.
which is interesting in itself. I think if you ask a busy person to do something, they do it. They get it done, right? Want something done, ask a busy person. If anything, I'm not getting as much done because I'm not as busy now.
Oh,
I have essentially retired because nobody wants to do what I do for a living. hands-on team building, right?
Mm.
Everybody wants to get together and get real close and build bikes and bears and donate them to charity. People do want to donate everything to charity, but they don't want to get together anymore. So I'm retired. So I love what I do. I think you also have to like what you do, and I like what I do. So yeah, there's time in the day. There is. Did that answer that? I don't know if we like
Slacker. Yeah, you absolutely did. And I realized I didn't even talk about your actual day job of team building. So there was even more. So how do you relax?
I read. I read. I garden.
Shocker.
I know, reading. Holy.
No.
I read and I garden. And I think that, the zen of gardening, I mean, that is just great. It just, deadheading the roses, and I think a lot of people know if they follow me on Facebook that I have a garden. And now I have over 170 roses.
Oh, wow.
I got 11 roses from the Friends of Vintage Roses a couple weeks ago. So I added them. They're very tiny. They're, next year maybe they'll do something. They're blooming, some of them. So I deadhead them, and that's very zen, and that's very relaxing. But I love TV. Love TV.
Yay.
And I stream a lot, and I think we're very lucky to have so many wonderful programs. God, the programming is terrific. And I think I've discovered more during this time of shelter in place, not just BritBox and, Acorn and PBS, but there's all this other stuff on Hulu that I keep finding that I like. Plus MHZ. I mean, there is just so much. I'm talking about the mystery programming, but
Yeah.
I love comedy. I love sitcoms, big on sitcoms. Ellen Byron's one of my champions. But I really love sitcoms, and there are some quality sitcoms out there too. So I'm catching up on everything that I didn't do before.
Oh yeah, it would be a very different, this shelter in place, and even now just staying close to home would have been very different without the streaming. So if you've got one discovery from Hulu or BritBox or Acorn or A Word Prime or anywhere, that's been getting you through, what would you say?
Oh yeah, what? I don't really think I have one.
Put you on the spot, sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm just thinking. I've started a lot of shows at the beginning and watched them through like Midsummer in order instead of watching them when they came up on PBS and I was available. That's been really nice, actually, is watching shows in order. I guess, I don't really have one, but I think looking at all the programming and then watching, like I'm watching, Father Brown in order, the Agatha Christie's that are out there. There are, 2 or 3 different people who play Miss Marple and Hercule Poirot, and the detail is great. The costuming and the stories and the acting. And I've seen the same shows with different casts, which has been fun. So I don't think I have one special, but
I put you on the spot. Have you come across something called What Remains? It's just one of these little 6-part BBC things. I think it's on BritBox. What Remains. It's jet black, but it's good.
It's called What Remains?
What Remains, yeah.
Oh, good, thank you.
Good one.
Writing
but
it
it's
down.
not Agatha Christie at all.
Doesn't have to. Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm into dark. No worries.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I knew that. Sorry, it's just from what you said, I thought I better make that clear. So coming back to reading, I mean, even though streaming is a marvelous thing, Kathy Boone Reel wants to know, what's your favourite reading spot in your lovely house or garden?
Well, I love to read in my rocking chair in the living room. I do. That's a favorite. Basically, I read in bed. I read in bed. I wake up also during the night sometimes, and then I can just read. I mean, I read. Yeah. So I guess those 2 places. I don't read outside because it's too glary.
Do you read in bed in the morning?
Oh no, I have the American work ethic. You get up and you go to work.
I thought
you can't read. Reading is not work.
I thought I'd found someone else, because I read in bed for an hour in the morning with coffee. And
Oh,
it is shocking. You know, you have a people have gas and think there's something wrong with
I
that.
can't imagine.
You should only read the newspaper in the morning. No, read a
Yeah,
novel in the
right.
morning. It's fine. Okay. So Barry Ryan wants to know, but okay, don't worry. I know, don't worry. Barry Ryan wants to know, what do you look for when selecting books, and what makes your heart sink?
Hmm. Heart sing, right?
Sink.
Sit low down. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like what makes your heart, or what makes your heart sing, and what makes your heart sink
Oh,
in
what do
selecting
I look
reading?
for? I look for good writing. We'll start with that. Um, are we talking mysteries or all kinds of fiction?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Or
mysteries.
anything you want.
No, we'll talk mysteries. So good writing, number one, good character development. Um, I love a good plot, but I love character even more. Um, so I look for new and unique, and I've have found some in the last few years, some very unique books, and that's great. What makes me? I can tell you what makes my heart sink that I don't like.
Hmm.
Um, a storyline I've read before. So not that anyone's cheating or copying, it's just do your research, and or yes, do your research. When they get the facts wrong about if they're doing a real place and the facts are wrong,
Mm.
that will distract me. I don't want to be distracted. I want to keep on with the story. Um, but sometimes I'll give that person a pass because the writing is so good. So I think I'm looking for good writing. I mean, more good writing. Sometimes I'm looking for history. I do want to learn something. Sometimes, not always. So I like art mysteries, and I like food mysteries, and I like theme mysteries. But yeah, I think mostly writing for good and for bad. And there are a few little tropes that I don't like that show up. But I'm going to spare those writers out there who might be listening.
That's very kind of you. And that's great advice for writers, that if you think you've thought up a killer plot, someone's probably done it before. So you better make sure you've got more arrows in your quiver, right? If you've got great characters and fantastic writing as well, then it doesn't matter that someone wrote it in 1950, because we can't read everything. Well,
No,
you can. The
no,
rest, the
no.
rest of us can't. Do you read constantly, do you think? Do you ever not read, I suppose is the
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I mean, I think especially in this time of COVID, there were times when I just, I'd start 8 books, 9 books, 10 books, could not get into them. Um, I think I'm over the hump now on that because I'm reading again. But yeah, there are always down periods in one's life well, for me, when I haven't been able to read. And that's a sad time. But I think
Mm.
it reflects my emotional state when I'm not reading because I love to read. Um,
So
yeah.
do you give up on books? I mean, you're saying you started 8 or 9 and couldn't get anywhere, but these are extraordinary times. Everyone's just like tumbled in the surf at the moment, aren't they? But ordinarily in the before times, and God help us, the after times, I hope. Um, do you finish everything you start, or is giving up on a book a normal thing for you?
No, giving up is not a normal thing.
Mm.
Once again, the work ethic, you start a
Yeah,
book, you
that's what I
finish
was
it.
going to say. Absolutely. Yeah.
But let's see. Yeah, I usually do. And what's interesting is sometimes I start a book that is fabulous, and I know everybody's read it and everyone loves it. So I'll end up taking it to the Bay, and then I'll start it and I'll go, why didn't I? Because where there are no distractions, why didn't
Yeah.
I? What was wrong with me? What a great book. I think reading in general, and I say this to my book group, it's how you're feeling at the time when you're reading the book, where you are as much as the book itself, how you connect with the book. Very important.
Yeah.
And so you can always put a book aside and come back to it. Um, I usually do finish books. Late, I would say in the last few years, really not just COVID, but in the last few years, I'm not there are a lot of books I will put aside because they're too dark or they're too this or too something happens to an animal. I am not reading that book. That's
Mm.
me. Unless, I'm sorry, something gratuitous happens to an animal. That's different, or to a child. But if it's part of the storyline, it's very important. I mean, I read a lot of writers of serial killers who kill children. I do read the books. But it has to be part of the story and be reflected somehow in all the characters.
Mm.
Uh, so I read everything. That didn't
That's
answer your
such a
question.
Oh no, you did, and that's such a brilliant point that even the most awful things, if they're reflected in all the characters, that's a really different thing than something happening just, well, it just happened and everyone moves on and gets a latte. I think that's you've summed it up perfectly. The feeling I've always had and never quite been able to put into words. Um, so do you read it? You asked there, do you mean mystery or do you mean generally? So do you read outside the genre?
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah,
read fiction, quote, literary fiction,
yeah.
although many mysteries are literary. Um,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Susan Bickford asked this as well, actually. What about the sort of snootiness, two-way snootiness of the purveyors and fans of literary fiction about genre fiction, and snootiness about people inside their genre about literary fiction? What do you
I
drop some pearls of wisdom about that,
Well, I
please?
feel very strongly about that. I know my sister's going to be watching this interview. Perhaps not. I might not give her the link. How's that? Oh, right. She won't be registering. She won't say it. My sister is also a major reader. She's even a greater reader than I am, much greater reader than I am, and always has been. It's always, I was growing up, it was my parents saying, turn off your light, Judy, turn off your light, because she'd be reading and we didn't have, iPads or flashlights. I mean, we didn't have
Yeah.
any of that. But she will call me and she'll say, oh, I just read this book. It is so good. You're going to love it. And it's a mystery. And she says it in such a way because she does not think that mysteries are literary. She doesn't feel that the genre is, she's embarrassed by my love of this genre. So
Oh.
I feel there are all kinds of, every book has a mystery in it anyway, because it wouldn't make you go further, but there's some kind of a underlying mystery. But I read everything. Am I answering the same question? I'm not sure.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
Is
That's
that
really
okay?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
really, women's fiction, of course. And I read I actually, now I've been reading some of the classics again, so
oh
not just
yeah.
real classics. um I went, actually, this is not a classic, but I won't say his name, but I went to a cocktail party on Zoom a couple of weeks ago. Somebody invited me. It was so wonderful. He is a contemporary writer. He's a very good writer. He was the guest. And so I assumed it was going to be like this, two people, someone interviewing him. Well, no, it
Yeah.
was truly a cocktail party where
It's
everybody
a
was there,
cocktail
all 30
party.
people. Except for me, everybody was a famous writer. Famous. I had to turn off my screen because, I was going, oh, fangirl, fangirl. It was so exciting. I felt like I was part of the New York literati.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone can be a famous writer, but there's a path to being a famous writer. Being a famous Janet Rudolph is a one-off. They were lucky. They were lucky to have you. Yeah, they were lucky to have you. I really want to know the name, but I know you're not going to say it, so I won't ask. Speaking of, I mean, can everyone who's watching just take a moment to look at our backgrounds? These were not bought from
Oh,
some Zoom store. So one of us is a serious busy woman and one of us has got time for all kinds of nonsense, obviously, just from these backgrounds. But so I just watched that documentary film, The Booksellers. I don't know if you've seen it,
I haven't
about,
seen it yet. No, it's on my
oh, it's
list.
wonderful. So I was wondering, obviously, you've got lots of working books. Just look behind Janet now, everyone. But do you have feelings about books as objects and to be treasured or collected, and books as this copy is more valuable than that copy? How do you feel
Um,
about that?
I do. I do. It's hard. I am a collector, in general, a collector. But I collect reference books and I collect literary cookbooks. And my heart sings when I see them. Books, based on books, cookbooks versus. So if you were to do a cookbook and you had your characters' recipes in it, I would collect that.
Oh,
And so I have a lot of
oh,
those. I used to collect, I always have my books signed if someone's here. Um, but there's so many books. There's so many books out there. You can't collect them all. I did for a while think I was, but yeah, I mean, there are some wonderful collectors, and hmm, I don't know if I can answer this question. I don't know.
No, I think you did. I mean, you can't. The Library of Congress has got it covered, right? You don't have to for a start. I didn't even know literary cookbooks was a genre. But if you're going to collect something without your house falling down, then collect something that's quite a niche genre. That seems very wise. Because if you said, I'm going to collect mysteries, you would just be, you
Well,
know,
I probably have, 4 or 5 thousand here, and I
mm,
probably have 4 or 5 thousand up in Bodega Bay. And
ah,
it's time maybe to move them on, but I don't, they're my children. I'm not sure I want to give them up yet.
oh, yeah. So can we talk about, you're talking about all these books that you've got that are signed. Can we talk about the literary salons? I'll tell you, you know what I mean if I say literary salons, right? You've got
Yeah, yeah.
it. So Chris Zagorski wants to know, and I think because he's in the planning stages himself. So what is a literary salon? What makes a literary salon?
Well, for us, we actually started by calling them at homes, which was the British, was an at home. But we were
Yeah.
at home and people would call and we'd, talk about books or whatever. But the literary salons that we do or that I do, when a writer is passing through, they come by. It's a small, intimate venue. It's not bookstores are lovely too, but these are not bookstores. It's, as you said, my living room. And I think that's
Mm.
a big difference. People tend to relax more. And so, I've been doing this forever. When they're in town, it's not like monthly when that I set it up.
Yeah.
Or when someone has a new book, if they ask me and they're coming through, that's great, or their publicist. So we have had just about everybody because I've been doing it many years, many
Yeah.
years. Starting probably in my cottage in Berkeley, which is really a long time ago, in a tiny space, really tiny cottage, 500 square feet. But yeah, so we've been doing it a long time. I started the literary salons as an offshoot. I taught at Berkeley Extension, and then all the other extensions I taught mystery fiction. And then it was nice that sometimes, writers would come to the class that I was teaching at Berkeley or Santa Cruz or
Oh,
St. Mary's, But then I invited, and I think one of the first ones, and I could be wrong, was Margaret Sutton. She wrote the Judy Bolton books.
oh, right.
Yeah, and she was living in Berkeley at the time. I'm pretty sure Margaret was one of the first ones that we did. She was in her 80s at that point, maybe 90s. I don't know. She was,
Hmm.
to me, incredibly old at that time. Not so old now, but old.
Yeah, exactly. Funny
um,
that how it goes. Yeah.
and so she came, and she had a charming story. If you read the Judy Bolton books, she reunited with her brother's roommate from college in her 80s, and they got married. She had been married. He had been married. They had dated, prior to that. And so they were living in Berkeley, of all places, because they were East Coast people. Yeah, so it was really lovely. So I think it started there. And then I think one of the other first ones was Val, McDermott, because I
All
had met
right.
her at Semana Negra, and I knew she was going to be doing research on her nonfiction book on private eyes.
Right.
And she was coming through town, and I had told her about some people I knew, and then she met other people, to find, private eyes, real women private eyes. And so she came to one of the first, and it was, of course, terrific. And so, yeah, I think that's how it kind of snowballed. But
Oh,
what we
right.
do is the writer sits around, talks for a while, and then we ask questions. And they're usually, I would say, anywhere from 10 to 20 people.
Mm.
When we had Ken Bruin, we had 50, but we were renovating the house, so there was no furniture. So people sat on the floor. So it was good. I had room. But I know when Ian was here, I limited it to, I think I said I limited it to 40. It was pouring rain, which was good because that kept people away. Plus, there's no room for coats if I can't fit 40 really in. But we might have had 45, and they were all over the house. And then maybe they couldn't see them, but they could hear.
Hmm. Wonderful. Yeah, I was at that one. Maybe it wasn't that one I was at, but I was at one when Ian was there, which was lovely.
Oh yeah,
So
the event
this is
was
an
great.
anonymous question.
Anonymous.
This This is an anonymous question from someone who doesn't want to give their name. So this might be another one where they know the answer, but they want to know
Uh-oh.
if you'll say it out loud. What was the most memorable cough, weirdest cough literary salon?
The weirdest,
Literary salon that you've had? Or
ah,
most memorable?
most memorable. Well, no, I'm thinking weird. My dog has approached. Come here, girl. Come here. You're on camera. You're on camera. I just thought we'd introduce her. Can you see her?
There she is. Yeah,
Sorry.
we see her.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, she wants more love. Well, I know that when Larry Block was here, this was really a long time ago. I would say maybe 30 years ago. And he said that he would not speak. He would only read. I don't know. He was in a mood. I love Larry.
Out loud, though. Read out loud.
Oh, yes, he did.
Oh,
He did.
that's okay.
And he read out loud. But that was, so because we have our format. And but it was still wonderful. It was terrific. He read a great story. We all loved it. So it worked out well. I think when, I'm just thinking of some of the funny things. Elizabeth George, one of the things that this is after the first book, I think. Yeah. And she talked to us about how she organizes her clothes. This is what stuck in my mind. She does them by color, which is great. Mine, look at my books. It's the same thing, for me, but not, I don't organize anything, let alone by color. But I could see why she would be so good at her craft, because she's so organized.
All right.
So that was nice. Oh, I know who. James Elroy.
Oh, I'll bet, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I knew he was coming, and I had been in France that summer and had read an article about him in a French magazine at the place I was staying. And I thought, oh my God, James Elroy, he can be a little strange. I mean, we all know this, right? This is not new. Well, knowing that, I was just on my best behavior, being very careful. And he had just gotten a puppy. And he was all about, oh, my puppy, oh. He was all soft and cushy and mushy about his puppy. This is not the James Elroy we expected. So it was great. And it turned out to be a very different kind of literary salon. Not dark or strange or whatever. But they're all good. I mean, they're all different. I think that's what's unique about them. They're all so different. You never know what to expect.
Yeah.
You don't know who will do what or why or where their head is right now or how many events they've already done.
So let's talk about taking a little break now from mysteries, because there's another side to what you do. A daily, I think you've got a blog where you post a daily chocolate recipe on dyingforchocolate.com. Yeah, it is daily, right? It's every day.
Yeah, both blogs are daily. The mystery blog is daily and the chocolate blog.
The chocolate blog. So Craig Faustus Buck, troublemaker,
yes,
wants to know what's so great about chocolate.
Oh my God, he could even ask that question. He doesn't know. Everyone knows. Chocolate is fabulous. Chocolate is really, for me, it's delicious. It's unique. I'm a chocolate judge, so I'm really privileged to have lots of chocolate.
Oh, wait, what's a chocolate judge? You can't blow by that. What's a chocolate judge?
I'm a judge for the International Chocolate Salons, and unfortunately, they're not live right now. They're not in person. But to make up for this, because the salons, at least in the Bay Area, have been canceled, and some of the others have been canceled, I get to have the chocolate delivered here, and I get to taste it and make a decision about in different categories. So I've just had toffee. I've just had white chocolate, and maybe that's why my glucose is so high. But I've just had all that. I also I've done the truffles. Those are wonderful. The caramels. So I'm just very lucky. And
you are. Yeah, you are lucky. No child is ever going to say, I want to be a firefighter or a ballet dancer ever again. They're going to say, I want to grow up and be a chocolate judge. Who knew that was a thing? But you're so it's bewildering to meet someone who's so psychologically balanced and healthy that you can be a chocolate judge, but you're not a chocolate snob. And also you like dogs and cats.
I
You
do.
don't have
I
any
do.
part of this nonsense about having to choose one.
No, I
Yeah.
don't choose one. No, I have a dog now. I have a golden whom you've just met. And I have 2 cats. I'm down to 2 cats. I like animals. I would have other things. I would have, one of those. I like reptiles, so I would have one of
Mm.
those if I had room. I fell in
You
love with. I would.
you would.
I
Yeah.
would. I have all these creatures.
So to be slightly more serious then, you also do the Mystery Readers Journal. And so I want to move on to talk about that now, if that's okay. I thought I'll describe what the Mystery Readers Journal is, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Janet will be able to describe what it is and how it evolved, how it
Um,
started.
okay, so Mystery Readers Journals in its 36th year. We're about to come out with 36.3, which will be Senior Sleuth. We have done that theme before. So that began coming out of these classes that I taught. So I was teaching all these mystery fiction classes at all the extensions, and some of the regular places as well, about mystery fiction. And I decided to put together a newsletter so people could know what's happening, if there was a book signing in the area or a good restaurant nearby. I don't know, just a newsletter.
Wow,
And
so all of this started with a newsletter.
yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
a newsletter. And one of the reasons I did have the newsletter, and I should say though, at that time was because I was working on Bouchercon, getting to active Bouchercon. I had volunteered. I was young, very young. I was the youngest person on the committee. And I'm not going to say what year, but so long ago. And it was being held in San Francisco. And I'd gone into the mystery bookstore and had met Bruce Taylor, who owned the bookstore at that time. And Bruce got me to be a volunteer because that was his job, was to get everybody in the world to volunteer for Bouchercon. And so I was doing that, and so I ended up doing the newsletter for Bouchercon because we actually, did it and then had it printed and then mailed it. And I mean, there was no internet. And then, so I was doing, I think it was actually at the same time. So I ended up with doing my small newsletter for my mystery friends. And then after Bouchercon, it was just easy to continue. And of course I had new contacts and new people.
Of course, it was
So it
easy.
started.
It was just easier to keep going and produce something 4 times a year. Of course it was.
It was.
Crazy woman. So can you talk us through what it takes to put out an issue now?
A lot of work. A lot of work. I'm really lucky because I have an incredible associate editor, probably the best in the world for what we do, certainly, Kate Deary. And I've known Kate now for many years. She does not live here in Berkeley anymore. She did live in Berkeley. I didn't know that. I had met her online. But she moved to Portland, and she moved to Arizona first. And we found, of course, with the internet, it was just as easy to work together without any problems. And she's very good. She's very detailed. So what it takes is also, because it's the Mystery Readers Journal's thematic in content, with a different theme every quarter, I write to people now. I didn't used to do all this, but I write to people who write books on that theme. So if it's Senior Sleuth or Private Eye or whatever it is. And I ask them for an essay. Now we have reviews, we have articles, we have columns, all again on the theme. But I think the uniqueness of Mystery Readers Journal is the author section. And that's our most popular. Why did you write a Senior Sleuth mystery? Oh, because I'm 80 years old and I'm writing, what I know. Or I'm a private eye, don't tell anyone, or whatever. So I think that that takes a lot of time. It's fine. It's fun. I write to these people. They never write me back, but no, some do. And I gather, and I think because a lot of people know me, they're more apt to write me an article, send me an article. Yeah. Sometimes they fit and sometimes they don't. So that's one thing. And then we collate the whole thing. I mean, we have a little pattern now, and then of course it has to be printed. as well as now it's PDF as well. So a subscriber could have one or the other. They don't have to have a a hard copy, but a lot of my people want that hard copy so they can take it to the bookstore or take it to the library and have all those books there. I mean, they could do the same with the PDF, but they're not all that savvy. So,
Well,
it's great.
I've got to admit, there's my most recent copy that I could lay my hands on, because the one after that is still somewhere in the house. It'll be on a bedside table or a coffee table or the porch, because it's just so fantastic to dip into. And I love the paper ones. So sorry if you just wish everybody would get their act together and get onto having just like an e-version, because I love that little pile of journals. Thank you very much.
You.
They're just delicious. It's such a box of delights. So can I ask about the awards, the Macavity Awards that are awarded by Mystery Readers International? What was the impetus for setting them up?
It was just one year we're sitting around and said, we should give some kind of award, because nobody else was doing that, actually. We were, and we gave them at Bouchercon the first time. Oh, I'm not sure which one. I am not sure which one. It's interesting. But we decided we should give awards for books we like, just our small group. And then it kind of exploded, and besides our book group, we decided to do it more from people who were subscribing to the journal or part of the larger mystery reader group.
So do you have if a book crosses your desk, can you tell this has got a Macavity feel about it? Is there a Macavity kind of book?
No, because the Macavity is nominated by members of MRI. So it wouldn't be what I think. I can't tell. I don't know what people are going to like. I'm really surprised by the nominations always. They've become darker over the years, but I think that's because our people who nominate, it's a broader group.
So to be clear, the Mystery Readers International are the people who subscribe to Mystery Readers Journal. Is that about right?
Yeah, there's some other people. We have friends.
Okay. Right.
We have a lot of friends, publishers and editors.
Influencers now. You can call them influencers, like someone who does makeup videos on YouTube.
We're on Instagram. Yes, we are definitely influencers.
My first, can I just break in briefly here to say the first award I ever won, which makes it sound like I've got 50, was the Macavity Award for historical fiction, and it was at Bouchercon in Cleveland at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I was absolutely astonished, and you put it into my hands, and that might have been the first time we met. No, I did know you. You put it into my hands. I was so flabbergasted. I thanked one person. Do you remember this?
Oh, no,
and that one person was you.
Oh,
and I thanked you for having such pretty hair. That was it. That was my whole speech. So now I say to anyone who's nominated for award, even if the other people on the shortlist are Jane Austen and Shakespeare and God, just prepare something so that you don't do that. But it's a happy memory. It's a happy memory now, but for a few years I just cringed every time I thought of it. Oh, let's move on. You talked a little bit about your garden. Leslie Karst and Judy Smucker and Clea Simon want to know. Well, this question is, I think it's coming from a good place, but it's a kind of composite question that seems to break down to, have you got a green thumb or have you had professional photographic training? So
I think they're two different things.
They're throwing a little bit of shade there, if you ask me. But that's the question.
So yeah, I think I do have a green thumb. So I think we don't have a gardener. That's number one, because it's just not our thing. Frank is my, gardener for my heavy work. He's cutting the branches. He's fertilizing the roses. He's really doing the hard pruning in January. I'm doing the deadheading. I'm doing a rose over here would be good, kind of planning. And, you know, I never give up on a plant. This is why I have a jardin sauvage, because, you know, I stick it in where it was because I can't let it. My sister, when she redid her garden, where she actually had someone come in and redo it, gave me all those plants that person didn't want. They're here in my garden. They don't fit. There's no plant, but they're there. So,
Right.
and I love to garden. My first memory, I was thinking about my garden the other day when you mentioned something about gardens. Um, I used to go to the Philadelphia Garden Show, and anyone who's a gardener knows that this is the premier United States garden show. And I went every year. I was not allowed to miss school unless I was very sick. My dad was a pediatrician, so, you know, no faking it, right? um, but I could miss school to go to the Philadelphia Garden Show. And I'd go with my mom and my Aunt Annie. My Aunt Annie had a wonderful garden, tiny, you know, postage stamp, but filled with flowers. And she lived a half a block away. So we would go to the garden show pretty much every year on a school day. And one of the things that I remember bringing home were, or writing away for, because of the garden show, were miniature rose bushes.
Oh.
I put, you know, money in an envelope and
Okay.
wrote away for them, and they came in the mail. And my mother was not a gardener. She didn't know where these were going to, you know, they went in little pots that I put them in. So I always loved gardening. So it's not a surprise that now, or once I had a garden, that I would have a big garden.
You do take fantastic photographs of your
Oh,
roses.
thank you. Thank you.
They're just lovely. And I mean, I haven't got I've maybe got 40 roses in my garden. And I do take pictures of roses, but I don't take pictures of roses like you take pictures of roses. So
Well,
do you
thank you.
have, have you done photographic training?
No.
No.
You know, I've taken, you know, one or two photography classes over the years.
Right.
But those were with a real camera, with real camera. I use my iPhone pretty much. I think the iPhone is terrific. It doesn't have 3 lenses. I have an X, but I do feel it has to do with how you set up your shot. And luckily, the roses don't move much. Sometimes they do, and they blur. But you know, my models are good. I have training in art. I wanted to go to art school, art college at one point. I mean, I always wanted to go. I always thought, so here's a story. Do you want a story? This is a silly
Absolutely.
story.
Yeah.
That I was actually thinking about it for Kay. Why am I blanking on her last name? You know, she has that wonderful book, The Carousels of Paris. Okay, she's probably going to be at Bouchercon virtual. So Kay had asked me to write an article, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But I was thinking about Paris, and when I was little, I had my sister's best friend. My sister was older. Her best friend, Lynn, was an artist already. You know, we were kids, you know, 10, 8, whatever. But Lynn and I decided, and she was 3 years ahead of me in school, that she was going to go, when she graduated high school, she'd go to Paris to study art. And she'd wait for me, so I would come with her. Now, mind you, we were 10 years from graduating.
Yeah.
We were kids. But I always thought that would happen. And even in high school, I always took art classes at all of the art colleges around, and, you know, classes, or at the Art Museum in Philadelphia, or the Academy, or any of those places, all those places. I even actually had a class, I'm sure my mom didn't know, when I was about 15. It was a nude, you know, it was a life drawing, and it was nude, man. Oh my God.
Oh.
Oh my God. I never told my mother, but I was shocked. I was shocked. I went with it because I was always the youngest in these groups. I mean, you know, there were always like college students or adults. But I thought I would go to art college, and unfortunately, and I even took art as a major, and I had a portfolio ready. I should have known, you know, my parents said, academic, you know, no, you're not going to art college. You would be doing this instead. So I didn't go to Paris, and I didn't go to art college. So, but I do think that you pick up over the years, you know, certain things, you know,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
looks good, what doesn't. You know,
I mean,
love
absolutely. Even your house not just your garden, but absolutely your garden. When you get to your garden gate, it's like stepping into Wonderland. I can't say enough about what it is like behind Janet's garden gate. It's just heaven.
Yeah.
And it's so lush. It's effulgent. I can't believe you fitted all those extra roses into it. Where?
So you
Because there's
stuff them together.
yeah, no, there's not a scrap of bare earth anywhere. And then I come home up to the stinking heat of not the Central Valley, Sacramento Valley, and just I feel so dissatisfied. But it's nice to come and see your
Oh, I
garden.
think your garden's gorgeous.
Beautiful. Thank you. But you've never seen it. You've never seen it in the middle of summer where it's just hanging on. It's just hanging on. It's okay. Let's not get too covetous. So you mentioned that, Janet, that you were volunteering for Bouchercon a few wee years ago and said you wouldn't say the year, but you said it was San Francisco, so we can work it out. And you've put on Bouchercons and volunteered for them, and you've put on Left Coast Crimes, including the Monterey Left Coast, which was just paradise, wasn't it? It was just, I don't know what it felt like behind the scenes, but out front it felt like everything just was on velvet. So what is your top tip or 5, if you've got one, for putting on a successful conference? I mean, no global pandemic. Let's take that as read, right?
Yeah, that would be an issue that we would not want. Let me see. Have a good committee, have a good LOC. I think that's really critical. Have the support of the board on everything. Pick good guests. I think that's super important. Have a great venue. I think Monterey, because you've mentioned Monterey, because we've done Bouchercon in Monterey and we've done Left Coast in Monterey. I think Monterey's a draw, so people all want to come to Monterey. So right there, you're good. Make sure that you have a good bar, a good lobby, places people can talk and gather. And then have someone good who's a good programmer. I mean, I think any convention, for Left Coast Crime, different from Bouchercon, it's so different. So I'm one of the founders of Left Coast. So we started it because we wanted something on the West Coast, on the Left Coast. And we wanted it to be more accessible. I know that when I went to my first Bouchercon in that year, so many years ago, I was not able to go to the following one. I mean, I worked, I had a full-time job. I didn't have that kind of money or time. So that was difficult, but then I was younger. I mean, I was a lot younger. I was, and I didn't understand why people would spend all this money and time, even though I had a wonderful, terrific time. So when San Francisco was Bouchercon the second time, what happened was I liked it so much that I made the time and I spent the money to be with my friends and to be with my people, the people I love, my community.
Yeah.
And I got it then. I was still the youngest person. It didn't matter. I was there. And of course, Bouchercon was much smaller then as well. We didn't have the numbers that we have now. So it was more intimate. So starting Left Coast Crime was to keep that intimacy, which I feel, true. I really feel is really still an intimate convention.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I kind of have to laugh. You talk about accessibility. It can be anywhere from Colorado to Hawaii, so bigger than Europe. But this country's massive. This country's just so huge. I suppose it does make sense.
I forgot to mention one convention I really love that I keep in my heart, and I am not an organizer involved in it at all. Malice Domestic.
Oh, yes. When you were saying, I can see why people spend the money, I was thinking of Malice as well, because I just think back on the mothership, back with the tribe. I mean, it's just different tribes. They're different tribes, yeah.
I went to the first Malice, and I went to the first maybe 8 or 9, maybe 10, and then I didn't have as much time, but I loved it. I loved Malice Domestic. I still love it, and I have been back. I was there for the 22nd or 23rd. It's just, people sharing books. And what I used to like about that, which is different from Bouchercon and Left Coast, in the past, it was always at the same place. Then they moved to another and then back. Actually, the first one was a nightmare. The very first one was at a terrible hotel. Everyone knows it was terrible. It was the hotel, not the convention. Convention was fabulous and very small. I think we had maybe 100 people. I mean, it was fun. But it was going home to the same hotel. We knew the lobby. We knew who would be in the lobby.
Yeah.
People like the late Joan Hess would be hanging out in
Yeah.
the lobby bar. You know, it was going home to people. So that was always nice. So I love that one as well.
Yeah, there is I mean, I adore Bouchercon. I love Bouchercon because I get to see everyone. And once you know who it is you're looking for, you can pick them out amongst these huge crowds. But there is something quite nice about being hugged by the bartender when you get back to that hotel in Bethesda. It's like, hey, you know, big hug. I miss hugs.
Which leads me to a really important thing. So this is going to be virtual, Bouchercon this year. And many of our mystery conventions and conferences are going to be virtual or not at all. Don't forget them. I don't want people to forget them if they don't do anything. I will be missing those hugs. I will be missing the bar. I will be missing seeing all those people at Bouchercon now. But we'll be back. It will happen. We will be back. But we're lucky that we have this technology that we can still stay in touch.
Oh, absolutely. You know? It would be if we were writing letters and licking stamps to stay in touch. This would be a much, much darker time.
Exactly.
I'm missing the booksellers as well. I am missing buying books. I've been at Noir at the Bar with a buy link. There's a little pile of things behind me there. But just that kind of trawling around the dealer's room, picking up things that you didn't know you wanted. And then
meeting people in the book room who say, oh, I read this. It was so good. Let's find a dealer who has it. I mean, of course, there's a stack, right?
I'm terrible for that in the dealer's room. Just if someone's hand goes anywhere near a book that I've enjoyed, I am right in there, no boundaries. I just sell. I'm not working for the bookseller, but I can't help it. Yeah. No, we will meet again. We will meet again. Here's a question that you can just go, oh, I'm not answering that again. I'm sick of answering that. Have you ever considered writing a mystery novel?
Not really. I knew I didn't want to. There was a time I had a friend who wanted to write one with me, but I really didn't. I love to write. I write, I've done a lot of, nonfiction stuff, but I haven't ever really wanted to write one. And people say, oh, of course you did. I'm thinking, no, I didn't. I had a discussion with, I'm sure it was Bruce Taylor, in my kitchen, in my house in the flats, about writing and mysteries and how to make money from mysteries. I mean, he was a bookseller, a surprise, right? And
tell.
Well, I didn't read. Yeah, well, I can tell you. It's too late now. But how to do it. But one of the things that came out of that discussion of making a career. It wasn't making money. It was making a career out of something you love. And I feel I've done that. Was many people probably have heard this story, but so Bruce and I were friends, and I was also in DAPA-M, Detective Amateur Press Association, Elementary My Dear. It was a fanzine where you sent a letter every month. And Art Scott, who was the emperor, who is a mystery person, Art would collate this, and you'd have everybody's letter, which was long, 4 or 5 pages of reviews or whatever you've done, mystery related. And he put it together. And again, the youngest person in the group at that time. And so I got a call from a radio station in San Francisco that did talk show radio. And they wanted they were going to have Bruce, and they were going to have Art Scott, and they had a producer from LA who was coming up, who was going to be doing murder mysteries in the Bay Area. And this is a long time ago, before murder mystery events had been done in the Bay Area. And he was going to be on. So They needed a female voice. They didn't say that, but I knew that's what it was. So I was invited to be his radio. And so Bruce, Art, and I fielded all the questions. It was phone in. People phoned in and asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about Agatha Christie and what's new in mysteries. And, that's what people wanted to know. They didn't know what a mystery event was because there weren't any. There were no restaurants doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, this guy who was going to be doing this whole business of mystery events, didn't answer a single question. He didn't say anything beyond his intro. So we all walked out of the studio and he turned to us and he said, "Do you know anyone who could write one?" And that's when I thought, hello, I'm here. I could do that. And so although I have not written a novel, or short story or anything like that, I would say I have written over 300, maybe 400, 500 mystery events, maybe more. I've certainly produced more than that because I worked for him for 2 years, and then he went out of business, and I started my own company, Murder on the Menu. We were the #1 company for a long time. We only did corporate. We didn't usually do public. We did a few public. We did KQED, charities I liked, things like that. But mostly it was corporate. So, and it was really fun. And I loved it because I wrote the storyline, but I also wrote the scripts. And I included information on the client, who they were, why they're getting together, if it was a meeting, what's the theme of the meeting, that was key for them because it's interactive theater. It's different. And I had actors and directors and sound and light people. So I built a business. I mean, it was really a very successful, wonderful business. Allows me to garden now and relax. And so I did that for many years. I mean, I did that for over 25 years, maybe 30, maybe more. And we went all over the US. Our group did. I didn't. I mean, I wrote it, and in the beginning I used to go, but.
So this is a whole extra other thing that I didn't know because I didn't meet you until after you stopped doing that.
I'm assuming.
That, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just another whole thing that could be someone's whole life, and it's just something you mentioned at the end of the interview that you did this amazing thing.
Yeah. And we went into the team building from that, but that was mystery. So I guess I did write.
Right.
But I did write.
Yeah, you did.
I did write mysteries.
Absolutely, you've written more than me, for sure.
But not as well.
Let's not judge. Let's not go.
Judge
chocolate. You can judge chocolate and you can judge published novels, but don't judge that. Oh, well, Janet, I have got another couple of questions. That feels like quite a place to stop, Tim and Dana, but I was going to ask, and you can just skip this one if you want, because it's maybe not a great question. Do you, with all those books and being sent all these arcs, and with your ear to the ground, can you say either what you think the next big thing is going to be in our genre, or what do you think many of us might have missed that you've picked up on? Because we're not browsing. This is just a selfish question. I miss browsing in bookshops.
I miss browsing too. I love to see book covers. So I really do love covers, and that's the art thing. I'm very visual. So I miss that, and I also miss talking to people at the bookstore about books or the conference or the thing. But I wouldn't say that I'm someone who is, quote, an influencer. I love to hear what Chris is saying, or Joanne, or any of the other people. I want to know what they're reading. I think I have more time now, which I know I have more time now. I go online. I love all these new sites. They're not maybe new to everybody, but crime reads. I read these wonderful articles. It's a couple years, 3 years old maybe. So I find out what's there, and so I'm not someone who's going to put it out there what's new and what people should be looking for. I think there are so many great places. What I do is like to do, here's one place to look to, the Rap Sheet. I love the Rap Sheet. Oh my God. Because he does different things. The review of reviewers. So what's coming up. And I don't know what's coming up. I wish I knew. Do you know what's coming up?
I don't know what's coming up. I've got one little thing I've been doing while we've been in lockdown is when I'm ordering books, like maybe from after an event or something. So I'll be ordering books from Books and Crannies or Once Upon a Crime or something. Say to the bookseller, "I'd like this and this, and can you just toss one in? Give me something.
Oh,
Just give me
how
something
nice.
else."
Well, I
And
love
I've
that.
had some great surprises from book because I'm thinking the booksellers must be missing hand selling. I
Yeah.
mean, they're filling orders, but they're not getting to press things into people's hands. So I've been doing that, yeah, which
You
has been
know,
great fun.
yeah. No, I was thinking it's the same thing in chocolate. Different world. You know, I talked to a chocolatier the other day because I ordered for a friend whose mother's ill, and I ordered chocolates, and we were texting and doing all this other stuff, and finally, he called me, and I thought, really, because he's one of my heroes,
Yeah,
and we talked about that because it's for everyone, but I ended up ordering more. I ordered what was new, so
you know,
chocolate and books.
I believe you. I believe that you placed that order. Well, I'm gonna wind up now by saying thank you so very much. Thank you for everything you've done and continue to do. Please don't realise a lifelong dream and run away to Paris and go to art college, because we would miss you. I cannot imagine a finer Bouchercon fan guest of honour.
Fan guest of honor. I am so grateful and honored to Bouchercon and the local organizing committee for this award. I wish we were all here together in person, but I hope you're enjoying virtual Bouchercon. I am. So, what is a fan? Well, by definition, a fan is a person who has a strong interest in or admiration for a particular person or thing. A fan, sometimes also called aficionado, enthusiast, devotee, admirer, expert, connoisseur, fiend, addict, fanatic, is a person who is enthusiastically devoted to something or somebody. They show their enthusiasm in a variety of ways, such as being in a fan club or participating or putting on mystery, in this case, fan conventions, and promoting the object of their interest, as in writing fan mail, or you remember fan mail, letters. Well, I guess I'm a fan. My very first mystery convention was Bouchercon in 1982. I loved mysteries, and I had a mystery book group that was meeting, and I was teaching several courses on mysteries at UC Berkeley and Santa Cruz and St. Mary's and various places in the Bay Area. But I found out about a national mystery convention was going to be held. I actually found out about it at the local mystery bookstore, another place that fans gather. And so I did what any fan would do. I volunteered. And I helped with publicity, and this was pre-internet, flyers and talks and real mail. But once I got to know this wonderful community of writers and readers and editors and booksellers, it was only natural to continue to participate and celebrate the mystery genre. I've attended almost every Bouchercon since then, and I've worked on several other Bouchercon committees. I founded Left Coast Crime, another fan convention, as well as attended Malice and other fan conferences. And I promoted mysteries within literary salons for authors here in my home, and with the Mystery Readers Journal, which is now in its 36th year. My mystery book group has been meeting weekly for over 40 years. So I might not be a fanatic, well, I might be, but I can say that my entire life revolves around mysteries and this great mystery community. And I am so thrilled to be a part of this world. So after 40 plus years in this fan community, I want to thank my mystery family and all the creative and engaging people I have met, the writers, the readers, the editors, the publishers, the booksellers, and other fans for this honor. I have an assignment, should you choose to accept it, to keep mystery fiction alive through fandom. And there are going to be new challenges and new horizons as we face this new world together. So being named Fan Guest of Honor is not an end goal. It's an inspiration and a boost to go out and do better things within and for the mystery community. Let's continue to come together virtually this year to celebrate the genre we love. I hope to see you next year in New Orleans, hopefully real time, real place. And I want to thank Bouchercon so much for this award and for this honor. Thank you.
At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the 2020 Sacramento Bouchercon booksellers.
Hi, it's Don and Jen from Seat of the Crime Books in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada.
Wishing everybody a safe 2020, and we'll see you in New Orleans.
Hi, I'm Verena Rose.
And I'm Sean Riley Simmons.
We're Level Best Books, and we're one of the dealers for Bouchercon this year. Sorry we can't be in Sacramento with you, but you can order books from us at www.levelbestbooks.us.
Hi, my name is Dale Johnson. This is Cross Genre Books. If you would like a Google slideshow catalog or provide me with your want list, you can do so at crossgenrebooks@gmail.com.
Hi, thanks for visiting the Independent Mystery Inc. bookstore here in Huntington Beach, California. My name is Debbie, and I'm the